Yes, mates, how's it going? My name's Lee, and welcome back to the FPL Punk YouTube channel, where we try to dominate FPL one game week at a time. Today, I'm going to create a game week 29 free hit team and try to discuss alternative options throughout. I'll still upload a transfer targets and team selection video tomorrow and Monday, but as of now, I'll just do a free hit video for today. Enjoy FPL content. Please subscribe to the channel down below. Anyway, let's rock and roll.
Be strong.
Well, mates, before we get into the team itself, on the left-hand side of the game week 29 fixtures, and just some fixtures that just kind of stand out straight away. The likes of the newly promoted teams playing Man United. So Man United playing Leicester away, Nottingham Forest are playing Ipswich, and Wolves are playing Southampton. So I've tried to include a few of those in this team. Now, this isn't the best team you could probably get. I'm sure you could tweak a couple of things and move some things around, but I'll kind of discuss those as I'm working through it. For now, I have gone for Matt Sells in goal, away to Ipswich, 5 million, 17.3%. This should all be within budget for people as well. I think the team's worth about 101.5 million, give or take anyway. I've gone for Onana on the bench, so if you are struggling for money, you could take Onana down to a 4 million goalkeeper and save $1 million there as well. I've got Tarkowski on the bench if you fancy Everton against West Ham, and I've got Vandenberg, who's just a really cheap defender, on there as well. I do have a midfielder / forward on the bench as well, but we'll discuss them later on. Sells could be any of the goalkeepers there, really. You could go for Onana. You could get Pickford if you don't fancy West Ham, and you fancy Everton to keep a clean sheet. I've obviously got Gabriel at home to Chelsea, but if you do fancy Arsenal doing well up against Chelsea there, then you could go for David Raya on goal as well. I do think there's a few decent options from Arsenal, but probably not too many in the forward line. There are a couple of decent defenders, whether that's Saliba or David Raya. I still like Gabriel. Like I know it's not a great fixture on paper, but Arsenal is such a good defense, and he's going to be highly owned by a lot of non-free hit teams. So as a result of that, I just think he's a pretty good option regardless, and it feels like they're always due a set-piece goal. I feel like you can gamble a little bit on the Aït-Nouri defensive position, and even though Wolves haven't been great and Aït-Nouri's not been as attacking, I think the likes, with Cunha missing due to his suspension, he might get a little bit further forward and might be a little bit more adventurous and a bit more attacking. And if you can't attack against Southampton, then who can you attack against? I think it's a really important game for Wolves. I don't think Wolves are a great team. They're down there fighting, and this is a massive game for them. I think this is almost a must-win game for Wolves. So I think Aït-Nouri needs to play well. They need to keep a clean sheet, and they need to start scoring some goals, and that could come from the likes of Aït-Nouri. I've gone for Gvardiol in defence as well, who's 5.9 million. I feel like City are kind of getting back a little bit. They have still got some injuries there. I'm still not confident of a clean sheet ever really from them, but we've seen how attacking the likes of Gvardiol can be, and that's the reason why that's the reason why I've gone for him. All three of these defenders I feel are capable of getting that 10-15 point, or whether that's keeping a clean sheet plus attacking return or something along those lines, and that's the reason why I've kind of gone for them. But I really like them. I don't think City probably will keep a clean sheet, so you could maybe target someone else. I don't like any of the Man United boys, so I wouldn't really go there. I've got Tarkowski on the bench, and you could bring him instead. You could double up on Wolves. You could go for another Arsenal defender. Then there's not many two outside of that. You could go for some like an Aina, if you do fancy Nottingham Forest away to Ipswich. There's a few options. These are the three that I kind of like and kind of spreading the risk. But I do understand if you did want to either double or triple up on a defense, if you wanted to go something like David Raya, Gabriel, and a Saliba, and just put all your eggs in that single Arsenal basket. I get doing something like that, but for me, I quite like spreading the risk, and these might offer some decent returns. Moving on to the midfield, and first up we've got Cole Palmer away to Arsenal. 11 million, 58.9% owned, and this is just a position that I feel you could really experiment with if you don't fancy Palmer. And I don't really fancy Palmer, but I feel like his ownership's going to be quite high. I feel like a lot of people not on free hit are maybe going to look to transfer him at either Salah or Palmer out, so it might not even be that much of a gamble to not have Cole Palmer, but I feel like you need those big guys, and even if they're blank, then you're kind of boxing off that threat anyway. But if you don't fancy Palmer, I think there's like an absolute plethora of players that you could go for. Just working down the list from Arsenal, you could get some like an Odegaard or a Trossard. If you wanted to double up on the Bournemouth mids, You can see I've already got Kluivert, but if you wanted like a Semenyo to go alongside Kluivert, don't mind that as well. Even from Brentford, I think Damsgaard is an absolute baller. I think he's absolute quality. Whether they would do well against Brentford, I'm not entirely sure. Against Bournemouth, sorry. So, like whether that's a wise option or just sticking with the penalty takers. As you can see, like all 5 of these are penalty takers. And that's the reason why I've kind of gone for them. I like the idea of just backing the penalty takers and just seeing what they can do. Brighton, I'm not interested in anyone from Brighton. From Chelsea, I think Palmer's the only option. I see people might look at Nkunku. I just don't see it. Like, it's either Palmer or nobody from Chelsea, to be honest. Probably no one from Everton. Fulham, he will be maybe, but I don't really like that. Ipswich, Leicester, nah, no thanks, mate. Man City, I mean, like, you could go for some like a Savio. Feels a little bit risky. I thought there's better options out there, but like if you wanted to either double or triple up on that Man City attack, then going for some like a Savio is decent. Man United, I think there's only really Bruno Fernandes from that midfield. Garnacho maybe. I don't like it, but probably only Bruno from there. Takes penalties as well. I think he'll do well. Like, he's an absolute baller. Absolutely love Bruno. Nottingham Forest had a really interesting one where I think they've got 2 or 3 good options in midfield. You want to go Gibbs White, who feels like the centerpiece to it all, kind of like the primary playmaker. You could go like Callum Hudson-Odoi on one of the wings, Anthony Elanga on the other wing. I feel like they've got a couple of options there where you can maybe take a bit of a swing and a bit of a gamble on it. If you are free hitting, I feel like this is probably one of the main positions in the team where you could take a little bit of a risk. Because like I think a lot of the team probably picks itself, but this one here where a lot of people are probably going to own Palmer, and I don't think Chelsea are going to score or anything like that, or Palmer's going to play well because Palmer looks massively off it, then this could be a position where you could really take advantage of it and look at someone like an Anthony Elanga or Gibbs White or a Trossard or any of the names that I've mentioned. Like, even if you wanted someone from Spurs, like, I'm not even sure who's fit for Spurs right now, but whether that's Heung-min Son or Brennan Johnson, like I'm not entirely sure who is actually fit for them. But you want to take a punt on somebody like that, like, it's just feels like a bit of a kind of a almost like a free hit within a free hit, because like it just feels like a very, very low risk, high reward kind of position. Onto the rest of the midfield. Bryan Mbeumo, feel like it picks itself. Great player on penalties. Not great that they're playing away from home, and Bournemouth are a good team, so whether he can get returns, I'm not 100% convinced he can. Brentford are currently playing Villa. They're getting beat 1-0. Ollie Watkins has just scored. Be interesting to see how the second half does get on. Bruno Fernandes, I already spoke about him. 8.3 million, 9.9% owned. He's just mint, mate. Is like everything good that we do, it comes through Bruno, and people can kind of moan about the way he acts sometimes. I just think he cares. One of the hardest working players in the Premier League. Takes basically everything for us. Everything good comes through him. If I'm free hitting, I just don't see a world in where you wouldn't have Bruno Fernandes. I just think he's that good for us. Justin Kluivert on penalties once again. It's just all the different routes to points, and that's what I love about this free hit team. That there's so many different routes to points for a lot of this midfield, and Kluivert is just one of those. And last but not least, we've got Jared Bowen, 7.5 million, 8.7% owned. He's obviously playing against Everton, so I think if you were looking at the likes of Pickford or Tarkowski in defence, I wouldn't pick Bowen because I don't like the idea of playing my forwards against my defenders. So that's probably something to move if you were looking at some Everton defenders. But overall, absolute beast. Playing out of position, looks like he's playing in as a striker. Probably on penalties again. Seeing as and Paqueta's still out, but really like this midfield. I feel like Palmer is the one that you could maybe start to look at someone else. And if I'm going to pick someone out of a hat right now and just kind of throw out there, I'd probably go for Gibbs White is probably who I'd go for. But he obviously doesn't take penalties, and that is one of the massive pros of someone like Palmer. Anyway, let's take a look at the forwards. Obviously, for the free hit team, of course, we've got Erling Haaland, because why not? Like, we've got the money. We can obviously transfer out the likes of Mohamed Salah and Trent, and we've just got all this excess money. So, of course, we're going to go and get Haaland. Like, it just makes so much sense. For me, who's not free hitting, I'm probably going to look to get Haaland in. It's probably going to cost me a -4, and I'm probably going to do Cole Palmer to maybe Elanga, you know. I can't quite afford Gibbs White if I want to do the other moves. I'll probably go Cole Palmer to Anthony Elanga. Trent Alexander-Arnold to Gvardiol, and that would allow me to do Isak up to Haaland. I don't like transferring out Isak, but I feel like if I am going to wildcard in game week 31-ish, I can just buy Isak back then. So like I'm only missing a couple of games. I don't like Palmer as a long-term asset, and even though I'm probably not going to captain Salah for the foreseeable, I feel like he's just so consistent and he's still going to get returns over then. So I just don't see the point in selling him because I just think he's an absolute beast. But on to Erling Haaland, obviously takes penalties, 14.7 million. Yeah, like I know he's a lot of money, but if you are free hitting, you can move a lot of things around, and you can see the forward that I have got on the bench is Strand Larsen from Wolves, who is very cheap. I think he's about 5.2, 5.3. I might have got the price wrong, so apologies if I have. But I think it allows you to do so many different things and within this team. If you didn't want to have Palmer, you could downgrade Palmer to someone like a Wanyeri from Arsenal, put them on the bench, upgrade Larsen to basically anybody. These are all different players, kind of players, and that you can get from there as well. So whether that was someone like a Solanke from Spurs, probably won't look at the Man United guys again, Xerxes or Haaland, but like we're just not good enough. If you want to double on the Man City forwards and go and get Mamouche, I really like that again. Everton, Beto, that's probably about it. João Pedro up against City, don't really like it, but I can see the reason why people might want to do it. Or if you go and get Wissa or Evan Nilsson, if it does look like he is going to be fit. But I think there are a few different things that you can do. I like the idea of targeting the midfield where they do score more points for a goal, and just having the two forwards in Erling Haaland and Chris Wood, who's just an absolute machine. And it was Man City versus Nottingham Forest today, and Forest beat them 1-0. Hudson-Odoi scored. Wood unfortunately was not involved at all, but that's happened sometimes. And up against Ipswich, I think Wood is a very strong consideration for captaincy in this team. I would give it to Haaland in the end. I'd probably go Haaland captain, Wood vice captain, but that's pretty close for me. I can see Forest kind of turning Ipswich over and beating them 3 or 4-0. To be honest, I just don't think Ipswich are good enough to compete with just kind of the physicality of Nottingham Forest, and I think Chris Wood is just going to absolutely run riot. Maybe get a goal on a penalty, or I can kind of see something like that. So overall, happy with the forward line. I think these two are almost nailed on. If you are going to free hit, for non-free hitters, I think a lot of people are going to have this combination of Haaland, Wood, and someone like me who has got Johan Wissa, who's going to make up my forward line. I think Haaland's ownership is going to go up to maybe 40-50%. And now feels like a great time to go back onto Haaland, where not as many people have got him, and you can captain him for game week 29, Brighton at home. And if you are going to own him, then you also own him for the Leicester game in game week 30 as well. So that's something that I really like there as well. Right, mates, that's it for today's video. So we looked at a free hit team for game week 29. Tried to discuss all different options throughout the course of the video. Look at those kind of mini differentials and those kind of players that you can maybe take a bit of a gamble on, those low risk, high reward type players in all different positions in there. I feel like the thing is with a free hit is that it almost picks itself probably 90%, and you can take a couple of gambles here and there. I think if you're not free hitting, I would maybe take a hit or even 2 to 3 hits before I do play my free hit. I just like the idea of keeping hold of that chip for later on in the season when you might need it just spontaneously. So I would prefer not to play the free hit if you can help it, but I think if you do, this is a pretty good starting point. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and drop in a comment down below. Have a good day. Peace and love, man.